You got a raise 6 months ago, more money is coming in than ever before, and somehow you still feel broke. Not broke like you can't pay your bills. Broke like there's never enough. Broke like the number in your account never feels real. And the strangest part? This feeling has almost nothing to do with money. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain. Your brain doesn't measure wealth in dollars. It measures wealth in distance. The gap between where you are and where you expected to be. Think about the first time you got a paycheck that felt huge. Maybe it was your first real job. Maybe it was a promotion you'd been waiting years for. For a few weeks, it felt like everything had shifted. Then something happened. Without you noticing, your baseline moved. The number that used to feel like success became your new normal. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Your brain is wired to return to a neutral emotional state, no matter what changes in your external circumstances. Positive psychology researcher Sonia Lyubomirsky spent decades studying this effect, finding that humans adapt to almost every major life change faster than they predict they will. A raise, a new apartment, a car upgrade. Within weeks, your emotional response resets. The exciting becomes ordinary. The ordinary starts to feel like not enough. And here's where it gets expensive. Your spending doesn't adapt at the same speed as your income. It adapts faster. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. When you earn more, you spend more almost automatically. Not because you're reckless, because your brain is constantly scanning for evidence that you belong at your new income level. New job, nicer lunch, better salary, bigger apartment. More income, more subscriptions, more standards, more baseline. Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist who won the Nobel Prize in economics, showed that humans are far more sensitive to losses than to gains. We feel the pain of losing $10 about twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining $10. So here's what happens when lifestyle inflates. Your new spending level starts to feel like the floor, not the ceiling. And any drop below it doesn't feel like a return to normal. It feels like a loss. That's why cutting back feels so psychologically painful, even when your finances genuinely require it. You're not weak. Your brain is just doing exactly what it evolved to do. But there's something deeper underneath all of this. Beyond what you spend, there's the question of how you identify. Research in behavioral psychology suggests that most people carry what's called a money identity, an unconscious story about what kind of person they are with money. And this identity was almost certainly formed before you were old enough to choose it. By the time you were 7 years old, you had already absorbed your family's emotional relationship with money. Not the facts, not the numbers, the emotional texture of it. Was money something that came and went? Was it something to be protected carefully? Was it something that other people had and you didn't? That emotional blueprint runs quietly in the background of every financial decision you make today. And if your identity says, "I'm not the kind of person who has money," no amount of income can override it permanently. You'll unconsciously find ways to return to what feels familiar. This isn't theory. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Financial Planning found that people's attitudes toward money, whether it was seen as a source of security, status, or anxiety, were more predictive of financial behavior than their actual income or education level. Your feelings about money shape your actions with money far more than the numbers do. So why does the feeling of being broke persist, even when the numbers say otherwise? 3 reasons. First, hedonic adaptation keeps resetting your baseline upward. What you have today becomes invisible tomorrow. Second, lifestyle inflation makes your expenses track your income so closely that the gap between them never widens. You earn more. You spend more. The buffer stays thin. Third, your money identity pulls you back toward what feels emotionally familiar, even when your logical mind knows better. The result is a loop. Earn more, want more, spend more, feel the same. Earn more again, repeat. Most financial advice tries to fix this with a spreadsheet. Track your spending, set a budget, automate your savings. All of that is useful. None of it touches the loop at the source. The loop lives in your identity and your baseline. And those are psychological problems, not mathematical ones. So what actually moves the needle? The most powerful thing you can do is separate your spending from your income deliberately and consciously, before adaptation sets your new normal. This is what behavioral economists call a commitment device. Before your lifestyle has time to expand into your new income, you move the difference somewhere your daily brain can't easily access it. Not because you're disciplined, because you've made the choice before the temptation exists. The second is harder but more important. You start to question the money identity you inherited, not the behavior. The belief underneath the behavior. When you feel that familiar pull, the sense that there's never quite enough, that you're always slightly behind, that's a signal. Not about your bank account, about the story running underneath it. The feeling of being broke despite earning more isn't a personal failure. It's what happens when a very human brain meets a world designed to consume every dollar you don't protect on purpose. The number in your account wasn't always this high. And the fact that it still doesn't feel like enough? That's not the money talking. That's the story you were handed before you were old enough to write your own. If you recognize yourself in any of this, subscribe to the Decoded Mind. Every video here decodes one more pattern your brain runs with money, so you can start to see it, name it, and slowly rewrite it. The next one is already waiting for you.